So good morning and welcome to our January 2025 CTE Coffee Hour. I am happy to have all of you with us today and hope that you are warm wherever you are because it is cold out there this morning. But thank you for joining us, and we have a lot to cover in this hour together. So I will get started with welcoming our tech prep friends. So Kathy Siebenauer-Wilson is with us today. She is the lead there with the Northwest Ohio Tech Prep Consortium. And so Kathy's going to just kind of give us an overview of all the good things and wonderful supports that tech prep can be for your districts. I know many of you are already in partnership, but maybe you are not aware of all of the wonderful things that Tech Prep does for our school system. So I wanted to give Kathy and her colleagues some time to share with you what all they do and what all they have coming up here yet this school year. So I'm just going to stop sharing and turn the screen over to Kathy, and Deb Rivers is going to be her Vanna.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. Yeah, Deborah will go ahead and get our slide presentation up. Again, I want to thank you so much for having us in. I really quickly want to introduce my coordinators, and we have the sick bug over this way. I have a couple under the weather, so they're there but refuse to open their window. I get that. We also have one on phone, but anyways, Anna Diekman is here at University of Toledo, and she's not going to open. She's just going to be with you here in heart.
Don Good morning, Wagner. Everyone.
Oh, there you go, Anna. Thank you.
Okay. I got my mic open, not my camera.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you. And then Dawn Wagner has been a bit under the weather. I'm not sure she can talk out loud, but she's housed at Terra Community College and does a wonderful job over there. And I know Rhonda yet is still upright, so I'll let her say hi real quick.
Hi there, I'm Rhonda and I represent Northwest State Community College.
Great. Thanks, Rhonda. And Steve Peck, I believe, is on phone. Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. And Road State College in Lima, Ohio.
Right. Okay. Steve's at Road State. And then Judy Ennis, which will either be Judy or her wonderful companion, Chubbs.
Chubbs was already on, so this is just me, and good morning.
Okay.
Nice to be here.
Morning, Judy. And then just real quickly, Deborah Rivers is my partner in crime here with the slides. She's a consultant for us this year. And can you open your window, Deborah?
Yes, it's the slide up. You see the slides should be up.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
And Deborah is the man behind the curtain. Okay, so pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I guess the lady.
Good morning.
So, anyways, good morning, all. We're going to go really quickly. Guys, this is a little bit of a sit and get. And for some of you, it'll probably be information you already have. Some of it, you may not have realized the things that we do and things. And also, our roles are ever changing. So we're anxiously, quote unquote, waiting this year's RFP. We're at the biennium, and we're a 2-year grant cycle. And see if that's going to change a little bit. And I think there's a possibility. But anyways, if we could go next to the next slide, Deborah. Deborah, you're on mute if you're trying to talk to me.
Yes, I'm trying to see why these slides won't advance.
Just advance.
I am trying.
Okay.
Okay, keep talking. Maybe I need to pull up some. Stop that. Let me stop share. We just went through this. Oh boy. Let me share again.
Okay. If we don't quite get that, the next slide basically just said who we are and what we do. And basically when we call it the 3 C's, which is collaborate, convene, and communicate. And then Deborah can advance the slide.
I'm not sure why it's not advancing.
That's okay. Lisa, you have the slide deck too, don't you?
Yeah, I have the slides. I can be the Vanna.
I'm sorry.
Pop it up.
I don't know why.
Okay. That is okay. That happens.
Oops. So let me go back a slide and click on this for you guys. Slideshow.
Oh, share.
There we go.
And I just mentioned that. And then the next slide. This is Ohio College Tech Prep. Most of you, like I said, know some of these things. Basically, Tech Prep is divided into 6 regions, which you can see pictured. And that's the same borders as Jobs Ohio. But I will tell you, if you didn't know already, they will be adding a 7th region this year up in the Northeast section because they're really heavily populated up there, and they also have a large region. But basically, it's the population is a lot more dense. So, anyways, there will be a 7th region. We serve. There's 91 career planning. Yeah, easy for me to say. 23 community colleges and 14 universities to ensure high quality career tech education. And then the primary point of contact for career tech administrators on a variety of topics and initiatives. Okay, and then just our little byline is we bridge the gap between higher education, K-12, career tech, and industry partners. Next slide. Okay, this is a really short little alphabet soup. And again, some of you know these real well. If there are some of these that you see pop up, you can always go back and check them. CTE is Career Technical Education. CTPD, not to be confused with just CTE. CTPD is Career Technical Planning District. A CE26 is, that's what we're kind of in the heat of right now, doing it. And I'll be speaking a little bit more about that. But basically, if you think of it, it's an application for career tech courses that are going to be funded or that you want to be funded. Okay, a CTAG stands for Career Technical Assurance Guide. It's a statewide articulated credit course. And again, we'll mention those just briefly. And then articulation agreement is agreement between basically secondary and post-secondary schools. It identifies early college credit for students with varying parameters. And those actually, I think what we're getting from the state now is they would like to back off those a little bit and try to just go to either College Credit Plus, the CTAGs, but they're working on that. And anyways, they'll give us plenty of notice of what they want us to do. BAC is a Business Advisory Council, not to be confused with Business Advisory Committee. I know some of our schools, some of our districts also have committees, and that's been a little bit confused before. If you haven't got the new name, we're ODU or DO, but it's Ohio Department of Education and Workforce Development. It's the same Department of Education, basically. There's some new leadership. And the ODHE, which is Ohio Department of Education. Okay, our basically Tech Prep has 3 goals. The first one talks about relationships, and we're building and fostering relationships between education, business, and community partners. A couple of the newer things, even though those of you who are embedded in career tech, you've already heard all these, but some newer things in the last couple of years is the work-based learning, and we want to provide opportunities for high school career tech education students. That's something that's also on the report card for career centers. And then strengthen the school district business advisory councils. And again, we're just kind of somebody who assists that and facilitates some of the things they do. That is state mandated too. Every school district has to be a member of a business advisory council. Okay, our second goal is to assist our educational partners in the region in developing high quality career technical education pathways. That's the hot topic right now. And I know Lisa does that with her schools that deal with special needs, especially. They're important. So the pathways and then the programs of study. And I know the state is trying to work a lot more on quality programs of study to make sure, when you look at your 26, whatever you're putting in there is what you're going to teach your students. We want to make sure that's high quality. And then the third goal is, this is like and other things as assigned, provide universal technical assistance to partners in the region on related career education topics. Basically, what we are, guys, is Tech Prep is a lead facilitator of the 26 process. We do an approval, okay, but that's an approval based on quality assurance, so that if you have something that is maybe a little incorrect, we really encourage you to talk with our coordinators. And again, if you don't know who yours is, you can contact me. My email will be on a little bit after a while in the presentation. But anyways, we help support with the preparation, acquiring all information needed for a successful submission. A couple of years ago, they added the labor market data, and that isn't for all of the 26s, but it's one part that from a few years ago that's a little bit new. Next slide, please. Next is the basics. Okay, and again, this is pretty wordy, but I'll just go through the main things. Career Technical Education offers basically students in K-12 15 career fields. Okay, and again, I'm not going to stop and go over all those. In my presentation, most of the things you see in green are linked to a site on usually the DEW website. They give you a lot more information that I can give you in a short time here. But they're related to in-demand jobs. And we're certainly looking to create those learning opportunities for workforce applicable skills. Another thing that's a little newer, and again, a lot of you are doing it, but there's a push in the state to expand career tech education. So we're actually doing more work with middle schools. We've had a lot of middle school applications. Good thing is, if you have a career tech middle school program, it can be funded. You have to have a 26 for that. Okay, just some basic knowledge here. Courses can be owned by either the lead career technical planning district or the local school district. Okay, now what you need to really make sure that that you have straight though is local school districts have to work with and go through their career technical planning district, their CTPD, as they're the final sign off at our level. It goes tech prep, and then the CTPD, and then it goes on to the state. Okay, courses, they can be done individually. You don't have to have a full set, to do a pathway. If you would like to do a pathway, you need 4 more courses that a student can take that is in that same pathway. Those can be done either on site at a career center location where the students travel in and do their coursework and their skill training on site, or they can be done within the local school district buildings. And we're getting a few more of those. The last couple of the years there was some money available for both facilities and some equipment. And some of you got those grants and have been working really busily to try to make sure that you get those going as soon as you can, because that's exciting, because we can provide more CTE for our students. Just a side note there, if it's a district building and you want to run a course, okay, it can be executed by the district, and it's usually called a satellite program. If it's a satellite program, that means that it's under the CTPD. Usually the CTPD is providing the teacher and the curriculum, and they're actually under the CTPD. But again, that works real well for some guidance if you're relatively new, but you want to put something at your school. Okay, and then last, and I'll come back to this just briefly, things that have been coming up really fast. Industry recognized credentials. That's something that students, certain sequences of those can be used to help toward graduation. They've become very important, and there's many of them out there. There is a crosswalk on the website, the DEW website. And again, I believe that that link will work. If it doesn't, I will get these all to you. And then also we have senior only programs. This is for seniors that may not be looking close to graduation. And these programs very often, can put together credentials or other courses that's going to help them be able to move along and ensure that they're going to graduate. Next slide. Real quickly, industry recognized credentials. Again, I just said they can be utilized to help students graduate from high school. These are credentials that are areas that our businesses have told us that they would like to have the students trained in that area. Some businesses don't require these, so it really would behoove you to meet with your business industry partners and find out what they do want. If some things are really important to them, chances are that you can offer those right during high school. Some of them don't have as big of a need in that area. They'll train them themselves, and if so, then that might not be an in-demand area for your particular region. Okay, and then I mentioned the senior only credentials. And again, these are for seniors only. And it helps them complete their curriculum requirements. And again, there's a section in DW that would explain that. Basically, what we want to do is work with the career planning districts, which thank you for flipping that. It's actually kind of fun to work with all the career centers. We have several. There's we count them as 12. Vanguard Sentinel, as most of you know, is 2 schools, but they're operated under the same umbrella. So there's 2 locations, one's in Fremont and one's in Tiffin, but they work together, and it's wonderful. You can see the rest of them. Most of you, the majority of you, probably are in one of these CTPDs. If you're in a district school or if you send your students. And then educational service centers, and we really, really want to thank them for their assistance. They've been doing a lot more in conjunction with CTE because that's what the state really would like to do. And again, we have Hancock, Lake Erie West, Northwest Ohio, Wood County, and Allen County. So I want to thank them. We'll go on to the next slide. And then a really important partner is our college partners. Now you'll see at the bottom the logos. These are the ones that are within our region. However, that doesn't mean that we can't work with other colleges. All our 6 regions work very well together. We collaborate. If there's someone who needs a program that's not offered in our region, we'll work with them, and we'll use their college. And we're not just stalemated to just 1 or 2 colleges. And our coordinators are at the different colleges, but again, they don't, they don't say, well, you can, if it's Judy, you can't work with only Owens. That's not it at all. We work together. Talked about courses available through the CTAGs. It's the same type of thing. And again, I'm looking at my time too. And those are similar to articulation agreements, but CTAGs are statewide, and the articulation agreements are usually between school and school. And then in this area too, Tech Prep assists with that brokering of these early credit opportunities to ensure that the career tech programs in the region are compliant. You must be compliant. And go to the next slide. Okay, I'm going to go real quickly through this. And again, most of you probably seen it. If you need any help or explanation of these, you can contact me and or my coordinators. We talked about basically the bilateral articulations, the CTAGs, and College Credit Plus. And this will be on the slide. The descriptions are on there. In a bilateral, it's usually 1 school to 1 school, could be more. The CTAGs are through the state. And then the College Credit Plus is also through the state. And those of you who work with that know that that's something that has to be paid for by the school districts. Enrollment is basically high school. And then the curriculum, to put it in a nutshell, it has to match the college curriculum in order to get the college credits. And that's pretty easily said. But again, if you want to delve into any of these at all, we can certainly do that with you. And so next slide. I'm hurrying, Lisa.
No, you're fine.
Okay. What's a CT26? Right now, we are kind of in the heat of that. And if we go to the next slide, real quickly, again, some of you may have done these. You already know them. You can snooze off for a second here. But for those who are not familiar with them, a CTE26 is basically an electronic provider application. Okay. You have to go through the Ohio ID portal. Okay. And to get in there, though, you have to have Career Tech Education login roles. And it would take me way too long to try to go through that. But that's something we can help you with. If you're new, okay, you will not be able to get into the Career Tech area without those roles. Basically, the head would be your superintendent, but he can use designates as well. Okay, the window usually opens in the fall. Whoop, can we go back just a second? Okay, just real quick. Usually the window opens in the fall. Typically, November, we did not get it open. This should open December 1st, and then it goes to March 1st. And that's an important deadline because you have to have those applications into your CTPDs because then they have 15 days max to approve all those. And then last down there at the end, if you're interested in teaching a career tech course, you must have a CTE 26 if you want to be funded, if you want to be funded, okay? And just quickly, pathways there are being facilitated, the courses within the pathway being taught in the Aligned College Credit Pathway. Okay, next slide. I apologize. I'm kind of reading this to a certain extent here, but I wanted to make sure we get the facts out and so that you understand them. If later you have questions, or you can reach us. Okay, the district teaching courses intended to access the project funding must submit that CTE 26. Okay, and it needs to be submitted before you start the program. Okay, now you can do a CTE 26, but you basically have 5 years to start the program. So sometimes people do go ahead and get their 26 in. If it's not looking like it's going to be able to open that first year, it's still good. It's still good for the 5 years. After that 5 years, you have to renew it. Okay. And then lastly, just real important, make sure you have the right roles in OEDs. We have alignment resources to work with the colleges to make sure that you have what you need to do that. And then can't emphasize enough, you need prior to submission. You have to have that in place if you want to be funded. And that's our key to success. Okay, next one. Yeah, do you need a CT 26? In a nutshell, if you want to be funded, yes, you need to have a CTE 20 to match all the requirements. These work through your CTPDs. Make sure if you're thinking of a new program that you would like to put, or a course, or a program of study, anything, you must work with your CTPDs, because again, they're the final approval before it goes to the state. You would choose a career field, and there's a handout there that's also on the website. Later when you get your slides, you'll be able to click on that. And you must go in one of those career fields. If you want to do a program, then you pick at least 4 courses, okay? And again, work with your CTPD to make sure that whatever you pick is what's relevant in your area. We do a lot of work now with labor demand data, and I know Lisa Height is a person too that stays up on that, because really don't want to offer courses if there's no jobs in the area. It's just something that we try to make sure that your students can get jobs when they get out. Okay, next one. Okay, how can we help you? Okay, next one. Real quick. First of all, sometimes it just helps to have somebody to sit down and brainstorm with, and that would be myself or my coordinators. And I have wonderful, wonderful coordinators. If you've not met them or worked with them, they're very knowledgeable. They can help just sit down and brainstorm. Sometimes if it's somebody that has special needs, Lisa Height sometimes would join us, and we'd work together to think about what the students really need. Connections, we make sure that you get the right contact at the CTPD if you're new. Okay, if you've done this a long time, then you probably already have that connection, and it's not something that would be new. You also need a college partner. If you need somebody at the state, we can connect you. We know where they're at, and sometimes we have to chase them down a little bit, but they're wonderful people. They have had some changes down there of some of the people. There's a few new people, but we can find them. We meet with them on a regular basis. Collaboration, if you're not sure who to bring to the table, okay, this is something that we can help you do. If you don't have any business partners, or you're not really sure, where to find that labor market data, we can assist you with that, but you need to get the right people to the table to ensure that what you're going to actually do, or what you're going to offer your students would be appropriate for your area. Okay, and then sharing resources. We all have a ton of resources around the region. We also collaborate very well with the other 5 regions, and we share all the time. Okay, it's not a competition at all. We work together and make sure that we can find you the information that you need as far as resources. And then we'll go to the next one real quick. And I think I'm almost out of time here, and I don't want to take any away from my colleagues there. Questions? My email is right there, Kathy.Wilson's pretty easy, at utoledo.edu. And if you want to meet who your coordinators are, if you've not done that yet, you certainly can do that. Lisa, I talked. But again, thank you so much. And Lisa Height and her crew just do a wonderful job. of what they do. And as a matter of fact, she's going to help me advertise. We're really looking forward to this. Is kind of like our culminating event, and we're getting the date out early, April 4th. Mark your calendars. And we're going to Rhodes State College. We were there once before and had a fantastic turnout. It's wonderful down there. We have all kinds of speakers, and they're increasing all the time. The name of our event this year is FY25 Success Summit. Technically, Success Bound is phasing out that branding. Okay, now there's still some Success Bound money. It's not being given to Tech Prep now. So we don't have the small grants that we had before, but we've built that into our budget. And again, our byline is workforce and education reaching the pinnacle of success together. So we'll be looking forward to that. We'll get you more information. Just really quickly, if you've not met Jeremy Varner yet, he's the new Deputy Director of the Division of CTE and Workforce, Ohio Department of Workforce, Education and Workforce. And he's very, very nice to talk to. And he, by April, he'll have even a better knowledge probably of the state of Ohio. This is a person, a couple of them that are favorites. Jaime De La Cruz is the Senior HR Director at Marathon Petroleum, LP. He has a lot of insight into labor market and, you know, what subjects and courses and skills are needed. Dan Leffingwell has been one of I'm back. Right now, his title is Director of Workforce in Schools, Future Plans. He's not the superintendent at Noble anymore, and I know they miss him, but he's kind of spread his wings, and he's going to be there, and he enjoys coming to Northwest. And again, a lot of you have probably met him. And then we're really, really excited to get Dee Smith. We happened to hit the right day. She's the Executive Director of Ohio ACTE and more, and they're just doing a wonderful job. Dee is relatively new, but she has just jumped out of the skids, and she's ready to go. So, and we have tons more. We also have breakout sessions. So we want to invite you. And now I really will be quiet because it took 3 more minutes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us. Someone in the chat did ask for your slides, and real quick, I will go back and show you right here in my slides, this link here, Tech Prep NWO, that is live linked to the slides that Kathy shared. I also will send out a s'more within the next week that will have this recording as well as the slides attached to it, so you can go back and listen to Kathy's presentation if you need to do that. So thank you so much to Kathy and to her team. They do a great job. I really enjoy working with all of them, and I am appreciative that they are all on the call today.
Thank you.
So at this time, I always kind of open it up for anybody who has any questions about anything CTE. You can put it in chat or you can unmute if you have any questions. And we're not usually a very talkative group, at least not in the coffee hour. I have a question for more clarification. Yes, Katie, please unmute or put it in chat.
Good morning, everyone. This is Katie Height from Ohio Virtual Academy's Career Tech Program. Thank you, Kathy and team, for sharing your overview. It was very helpful for all of us. So my question for anyone on this call is really about Tech Prep. So Tech Prep, when I'm looking at engaging with Tech Prep across the state, and kind of give you the background. So Ohio Virtual Academy is a statewide virtual career tech program for our learners here, K through 12. And it's challenging but unique because we're not just regional or bound by a few counties, but all 88 counties. When I was discussing Tech Prep with a well-known large community college down in the southwest part of the state, I was advised that the Tech Prep cost for us to be connected with that community college is $3,000 per year, plus a cost per student. And then thereafter, I think a 2-year, almost like a grace partnership, they'll reevaluate how many students we actually have going into that community college setting, and they'll adjust our cost. And for me, thinking statewide, being part of a Tech Prep connected to community college, I mean, if we were to do 6 community colleges at $3,000 a year, that's $18,000 a year just for a tech prep relationship. And I was wondering if that's something that is common practice, or is that just unique to that that community college? Um, Anybody can help me on this.
Yeah, I can. As a matter of fact, hi Katie. Nice to see you. Really quickly, there's no charge for any tech prep services. I'm not sure who you talk to, and you can maybe get a hold of me later. Depending on who you talk to, there's one area a little south of us that does charge a consortium fee, and that might be the one you talk to. And yeah, they do charge yearly. But I will tell you for the most part, Tech Prep does not charge for their services.
Okay, yeah. So maybe I was misinformed, so the consortium fee. And so, I guess when we look at tech prep for high school students going into community college, that consortium fee, whereas let's say tech prep from someone already in the workforce, their employer would absorb that fee and then being reimbursed by the state. And so that's where I guess I'm just seeing like there's just maybe this equity issue between our high school students if there's a consortium fee and then those who are already established in the workforce. And perhaps and Lisa, your face says it
Yeah.
all.
Well,
It's perplexing because I've never heard of a fee for students before. So
Okay.
I think maybe a conversation with Kathy separately, and you can
Okay.
name names that I don't want you naming here.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Of
Exactly.
course. Okay.
Yeah, but
Thank
we
you.
can get it straightened out. A lot of times we do get confused between CTE and then Tech Prep and Tech Cred. And, there's a whole bunch. But yeah, Katie, if you get a hold of me, I'd be happy to help you. Where's your main office? I should know this.
No, that's okay. Our main office is in Mommy.
That's what I thought. And Judy Ennis is the person that I think you would usually work with. No, I think you've met her, but yeah, if you just get in touch with us, we'll straighten you out. You don't have to pay that money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. But thank you for asking. I always
Yes,
appreciate when there
absolutely.
is some active participation in these meetings. So thank you. All right, well, time for me to share some of my new finds. This one I am super excited to bring to you. I think it will shock some of you and maybe scare some of you. I was lucky to attend the National ACTE Conference in December, and in one of the sessions for students with disabilities and supporting them in career tech, they shared this new AI tool. They did not actually give us an example. They just said, hey, there's this new tool out there. It's Notebook LM, and it can make a podcast out of your presentations, whether it's a Google slide or if you have a PowerPoint and you download it as a PDF. So I came back and I tried it out and I was blown away. So I'm showing you today exactly how to do that and what it actually sounds like. So if you just go to Notebook LM, if you Google that, you'll come up with a screen, and you just then will say that you want to start a new notebook, and it'll ask you to add a source. And when you add source, it'll give you options. So I've already uploaded a PowerPoint or a Google slide presentation that I made back in the fall. I think this had about 54 slides. So once I did that, it immediately then generated this summary. Like within a minute, it gave me this summary of my slides. This presentation, Supporting Students with Disabilities in Graduation and Beyond, focuses on improving graduation rates and preventing dropout among students with disabilities in Ohio. The presentation details various pathways to competency, including career exploration and technical skill, emphasizing industry-recognized credentials and work-based learning. All accurate, great summary. So as Kathy said in her presentation, industry-recognized credentials can be pretty important. So what you can do here with the summary is ask some questions about the presentation and about the content. So I might ask, what is the importance of industry-recognized credentials? And it's going to look through my presentation to find an answer. There's the answer, right? It's a foundation for the career competency, and that's on slide 3 of this presentation. It's part of the career experience and technical skill, earning 12 points. Slide 2, slide 4, slide 5, slide 6, slide 7. So it gives you the answer and provides the slide from the presentation where it found answers about industry recognized credentials. That in itself, very cool. But my favorite part is the podcast. So that's over here in the studio, and I'm going to play you just 3.5 minutes of the podcast it created just from my slides. There were no notes that went along with these slides of things I was going to say in the presentation. It is just the slides. And this is what the AI tool was able to create with 2 people speaking about the Google Slides content. Again, I'm going to share about 3.5 minutes.
Okay, so get ready, because today's deep dive is going to really make you think differently about high school graduation.
Yeah, we're looking at how one state's really changing the game for students with disabilities.
It's Ohio, and they've got this presentation. It's called Supporting Students with Disabilities in Graduation and Beyond.
And it's for this school year coming up 2024 to 2025.
Right, and they start out with this like, whoa, statistic. Only 27% of students with disabilities in Ohio are proficient on state tests.
And only 67% are earning a diploma that's recognized federally.
Like, seriously.
That is a massive gap compared to their peers without disability.
It makes you wonder if those tests are really the best way to say if someone's ready for life after high school.
Right, like are those traditional tests really cutting it?
Well, these slides are suggesting maybe not.
This presentation was put together by Lisa Height and Aaron Weisbrod from the state support team in Ohio.
Oh, cool. And they're looking at some different ways to do things.
Yeah, this is actually from day 2 of a 4-day series. So day 1 was all about graduation requirements. And day 2, this is what we're looking at. It's all about showing you've got career experience and technical skills.
It's not just sitting in class and passing a test. It's like, can you actually do the work?
Right. And it's not even just meeting the bare minimum. Ohio wants students to graduate, not just with that diploma.
But because of what they've learned?
Exactly. They're really raising the bar, which is good news for students because it means more options, more support.
Okay, let's dive into those options, starting with WebZams.
WebZams.
Yeah. I know the name isn't super exciting, but these are online assessments.
Specifically for career and technical education, or CTE.
And what's interesting is they're way more flexible than your typical test.
You're thinking about those standardized tests where you get one shot and that's it.
Exactly, like so much pressure.
With WebZams, students can actually retake them if they don't do well the first time.
Oh, that's nice.
It acknowledges that, not everyone's at their best under pressure, and it lets students learn from those mistakes and try again.
I do wonder, though, is taking a test online always a good thing for students with disabilities?
That's a really great point. Accessibility is definitely something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Online testing can be good for some students. Maybe they need text-to-speech or screen readers, but for others, it could be tricky.
Yeah.
It really highlights the need for schools to be super thoughtful about accommodations and making sure everyone has equal access to these opportunities.
Equal access. Okay, so that's key. What else is important about these WebZams?
Well, they're also moving away from only focusing on, book smarts.
Right.
WebZams are tied to those CTE pathways, so they're assessing practical skills and knowledge you need for certain careers.
It's showing you can do the job, not just that you can memorize a bunch of facts.
Exactly. And the slides even say that even agriculture education courses can use WebZams.
Oh, cool.
They even suggest thinking about urban agriculture for schools and cities, so they're trying to be creative and expand access.
Urban agriculture, that's so interesting. Okay, but before we go down that rabbit hole, let's move on to the next big idea. Industry recognized credentials.
So it goes on and creates a 24-minute presentation podcast that was very accurate. I was blown away. It did take about 4 minutes for it to generate this podcast, but I think this is a fantastic tool. As a learner myself, I would love to attend a session and then have the podcast then to listen to as I drive to work the next day, just to refresh my memory and just get me thinking more about maybe that deeper dive into the content of the presentation. a colleague that I shared this with, she was able to make a QR code and use the QR code then to take you to the recording. I will try to get the directions for that and add that to the s'more, but this is a great resource for teachers to use. I even think sometimes, sometimes we send out these great big, long, lengthy emails. Maybe add a QR code to that of the podcast about the lengthy email you're sending out. People have different ways that they like to perceive information and retain information better when it's in their preferred learning style. So wanted to share that with you. I think you may find many uses for this. It's a great new resource.
At least you get some additional usage of this in the chat as well.
Yes, Jennifer said she has used this many times now and loves sharing it with students who have missed my class and do not typically go back to her playback room to watch recordings. And it's so much fun. If you put live links in your presentation slides, it will give additional information from the site that is not even in your slides. So if you live link something else, it picks up that content as well. It's amazing. So definitely try it out, load something that you've created recently, or maybe you've read an article recently, upload that article and have it create a podcast for you and just see what you think of doing that with that content. And then real quick as well, I wanted to share with you Advanced CTE has a new recruitment tool, a recruitment and engagement tool. I have live linked that here just for time purposes because I want to make sure that I have time for Nick Jacobs to share with you about a potential PD we would like to offer. I'm not going to take us to this site, but please know that this is, I think, a pretty good resource you might want to take a look at if you're looking at your recruitment practices and you just want to get some new ideas, different way of thinking about some things. This is a live link to Advanced CTE and some material that they have for you. So upcoming PD, I want to start off with an offer. If you build it, they will succeed. Constructing literacy skills in career tech education. So Nick Jacobs is the secondary literacy specialist at SST1. And he and I, probably for a year now, have kind of been tossing back and forth this idea of literacy in the world of career tech education. And I know this year, everyone has had to do the science of reading, using those modules. And so Nick and I actually sat down and we kind of planned out what this professional learning series could look like. But obviously, I'm here to serve career tech education. And so I want to share it with you and get your feedback if you feel like this would be good for your school or not. I know we don't always share a lot in this session, so I will put a survey in the s'more to get some feedback from people on their thoughts. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Nick and let him go ahead and talk about this PD that we would like to offer you for your teachers next school year.
There.
Nick, if you're there,
There I am. Hi, everybody. Like Lisa said, I'm Nick Jacobs. I am an urban literacy specialist serving Toledo, but I also have a focus on, there it is. This is the right, that's not the right slideshow. I apologize. I also support adolescent literacy in the region. And as Lisa said, we've kind of, our offices next to each other, and we kind of just pass each other with comments here and there the last year. I was really excited when, she posed, maybe we could put together a series next year. So this is a pitch to gauge interest. Everything is subject to change or be modified, but this is actually a series. We would propose that it would be 4 days. The bones of this come from a 4-day series that I delivered in our region last year. with a focus on disciplinary literacy. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's really literacy specific to the different content areas, or in this case, it would be the different career pathways or career fields. And my 4 days were specifically pitched to non-ELA classrooms. So a nice opportunity to transition into CTE, and it would provide, it wouldn't give CTE teachers or you as an administrators extra responsibilities to teach everyone how to be a reading teacher. It honestly is meant to take all of the great hands-on things that CTE programs already provide and add some intentionality in strategies and insights and in practices that align with those literacy practices in reading, writing, and communicating. You're probably all familiar with this data. I know Lisa and Aaron have gone over this in their series, but just to highlight how crucial all of the great things that I hear about CTE, yet we're still lagging behind in graduation rate. And as Lisa and I were talking, she mentioned a lot, and Lisa, jump in and translate for me or add to this if you need to. But, setting students up to succeed in those web exams is something that Lisa had identified as just a crucial component in, getting them the skills they need, but most importantly, getting them over that hump to pass that test to make sure that that the doors are open for them. Anything you want to add to that, Lisa, before I move on to the next slide?
Sure. And I think the reason that when I think web exams is, I've had the opportunity to look over shoulders several times at web exams, and there's story problems, right? Like it's a paragraph that a student has to read, and they have to have some strong literacy skills. They had to have engaged in discussion and deep thinking about that content in order to be able to answer those questions. It's not it is a multiple choice test, but it's not like a memorization test. Here's a scenario and let's think about the best answer. And someone else just put in chat, it basically is a reading test. Yeah. And so I think that this literacy idea and using these literacy skills could be really beneficial to career tech education.
So to that point, I mean, just to go back, so day one would be just an overview in terms of how we would frame literacy as something that happens in every CTE pathway every day. And then days 2, 3, and 4 would be, what does discourse or speaking and listening, how might that look? What strategies and what routines could CTE teachers provide to support reading? And then finally, what does writing look like? We're not writing multi-paragraph essays, based on 2 passages in CTE. We're writing, reports for, an engine, failure, or a pitch to sell this new product, or whatever. So so the rest of this pitch is really going to just walk you through what might be included in the 4 days. So the overview, really we're looking at reading, writing, and discourse every day as a structure to deliver content. The first, day 2 would be on discourse, would be the lowest hanging fruit, where, if students are struggling readers or struggling writers, communicating is something that they often, if they lack in the 2, most likely that they have some strengths in speaking and listening. And this is just a graph that I shared during my 4-day presentation that just highlights how crucial the ability to communicate effectively is to their job prospects post-graduation. A quote that I love, that I live anytime I have just a thought partner conversation with somebody, if I'm struggling with anything, talking about it unlocks new thinking. It produces new neural pathways when two brains come together and talk about one problem. And then really, those five core academic conversation skills that are completely content neutral, where you can apply these to any as a framework that you can, go through with different strategies that we would share to build their conversational skills in academic or in career specific areas. And so moving from discourse, then we would talk about, strategies to support reading, and in CTE, vocabulary is so crucial. And this is, for those of you who aren't familiar, this is a Freire model, which has been used in classrooms for decades. This is specific to an automotive service technician. And the framework of a Freire model is the same, regardless if you're in a second grade reading class or a CTE classroom. But, the definition is up here: a skilled professional who diagnoses, maintains, and repairs vehicles. Here are some characteristics, some examples, and then most importantly, I think this is probably the one of the crucial things that are included in a Freire model is the non-examples. So just because I work at a dealership doesn't necessarily mean that I'm an automotive service technician. I could be selling cars. I could be just working on the body. I could be detailing. So allowing students to wrap their heads around all of the different areas of the term automotive service technician. And then a different version of this would keep the definition. I found this quote from Confucius that would, probably lead to a philosophical conversation about work ethic and tools, and all related around the automotive service technician role. Here are some pictures that you might use to highlight where they are in the engine, and it's not enough to know how an engine works. You also have to know how to use the tools and be savvy in technology. And so that would be, another example. And then here's just two conversation prompts that you might use to not only reinforce the vocabulary, but then offer an opportunity for them to practice those academic conversation skills that we had just talked about. Because here's a good question. You want to work on a 2005 Honda Civic or a 2025 Tesla? I know that some I don't even know if it's legal for someone to work on a Tesla if they're not certified. But that would be part of the conversation. And then, another one might be forecasting the profession or the industry in 10 to 15 years with all of the things that are happening.
And Nick, I think that's important to point out is those deeper dive thinking questions are literacy skills. Like that is part of literacy. And that is the kind of stuff that we would be sharing with teachers and helping them create and think through in this series.
Thank you for that, Lisa. I get a little ahead of myself and I forget to slow down and make sure that point is very, very clear. And then I'm just going to share this. So I used AI to find articles about auto service technicians. And this was an article found in Popular Mechanics about Mike Besso out of New Jersey. Can you guys still see that?
Yes.
So I copy and pasted on a Google Doc, but this is literally a little blurb about Mike Besso and what makes him so great at his job through through the words of the people who nominated him. And so this would also be an opportunity for students to read and then students to talk about, okay, so according to this short blurb, what skills made Mike stand out as an auto service technician? No one said only that, he knew how to fix my car and that was it. There were other things that made Mike stick out. And, again, that would be using your reading and your writing and your student discourse that is found in the things that makes Mike great. Customer service, being able to detect, faulty passenger door sensor. Like you're reading a monitor or a tool that you're using in order to make that happen. Um, so again, that was just something that I thought was kind of cool. And there's Mike in obviously in the auto tech uniform there. And then finally, just giving students opportunities to write. So here are, and it says before reading, again, these are slides taken from my 4 days on adolescent disciplinary literacy. So it says before reading, but this is really before any activity that you do in a CTE classroom. Here are just some strategies that you can use that I won't go through, but you have access to these slides. Something to do before, something to do during, and something to do after, an activity or an exercise. And then finally, this is one of the documents that we looked at in my 4 days that, we'll probably take out to articulate just what content literacy strategies are, the strategies that can be done in any classroom across any content area, and then those disciplinary specific strategies. Lisa had highlighted agriculture, engineering, performing arts. These are specific ways to leverage literacy strategies so that students can assume the identity of the field that they're pursuing. Because that's what this is really about, especially, with the adolescent age, identity is such a crucial part, and we want them to see themselves as effective practitioners in the career field, but also want to see themselves as fluent in reading, writing, and communicating in that field as well. So, and then there's a whole other piece of how this supports students with disabilities with providing them multiple means of access through reading, writing, and and the communicating piece. So that is that's my micro machine voice pitch. What questions do you have? Lisa, I think you said that they would be able to gauge interest or share interest in the s'more.
Yes, I mean, we're welcome to field any questions or take any feedback now. But I'll also send out a s'more after this to anybody who registered for this event, as well as all of my career tech contacts, because we want to get a full sampling of, is there interest in this? Nick and I obviously think that this would be great for career tech education, for the teachers, giving them some more teaching tools in their tool belt, but then also for student learning and the impact it could have for student learning. So if anybody has questions or comments, we welcome those at this time.
And just to add one more thing, the state has been so laser focused on K-3 literacy for so many years, and to bridge out to all grade levels through the science of reading modules, to provide an extra layer of support for CTE spaces, communicating with my contacts around the urban centers. This is not really happening anywhere right now. So that's part of why this is why it's so exciting to think about and to talk about. So thanks for listening.
Well, and Katie said she is looking forward to sharing this idea with her team. So thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Nick, for sharing it. And I hope that we will be working more with this next year in the career tech world. More PD that is coming up that I wanted to share with you real quick before we sign off here. The University of Toledo is bringing in Temple Grandin Friday, January 31st at 7 p.m. If you have not seen this woman speak, I highly recommend that you go to UT on Friday in January 31st. She is a huge supporter of career tech education. So highly recommend that you see her speak. If you're really interested, the Toledo Public Libraries is putting on a book discussion of her book, Visual Thinking. And so that will be on Monday, January 27th. Wanted to make you aware of that. I do have 2 more special ed leader network meetings coming up in February. The virtual statewide session will be February 19th. We're going to talk a little bit more about data, about charting the life course, that kind of course offering that is available to you and your students, and then any new Department of Education and Workforce updates that Chelsea Canterbury and Amy Szymanski might have for us. That one is February 19th. The link to register for that is right here. And then also I have an in-person statewide, an in-person Region 1 Special Ed Leaders Network. This one will be at Vanguard Career Center. So it's an in-person meeting. It is February 27th from 9 to noon. The Ohio Department of Education, the Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities is joining us, not to share what they can do for students, but to share what they might be able to do for your business partners. So they have training that they do for local businesses who are looking to work with people with disabilities. They're going to come and do some of that presentation for the career tech leaders to think about how that might work, maybe like for your business advisories, maybe for the business partners you have that do job placement for your students. Maybe there are ways that you could provide this training to the people who work with your students. So there are live links for both of those if you're interested in registering for those events. And then I also wanted to make you aware that the graduation open office hour on February 28th is going to be about EMIS and graduation. And the reason I put it there for you is because I've heard a lot of people talk about this simultaneous credit. And I've heard on more than one occasion, we do it if we knew how to code it in EMIS. So I think this might be a great place for you to go and ask that question. You can enter your EMIS question here and then sign up to attend the event and get your answers. So again, that session will be February 28th. It is a 10 to 11. Make sure you sign up here. It's a different time than their typical graduation office hours, and definitely fill out any questions that you have. Spring ACTE is happening March 12th through the 14th. That is at Embassy Suites Dublin. You can click here to register for that conference. Obviously, I always think that the ACTE conferences that we have in Columbus where everybody gets together are worth your time. And finally, as we shared earlier, the Tech Prep Success Summit will be April 4th. I believe I have the right date. At Rhodes State in Lima. I have loved going to this conference for the last several years. The featured speakers are always fantastic. There's a ton of good information to be gathered from this conference. So I hope that if you don't go, that you send someone from your school to attend this conference. And with that, I just ask for you to take a little bit of time and complete our feedback form. There is a live link in the chat, or you can use your phone and use the QR code. I appreciate your time. As typical for our coffee hour, I went over by just a couple of minutes, but I thank those of you who stuck with us. And I look forward to seeing you again in March when Ohio Virtual will be sharing with us career kits. And then in May, we are meeting in person at Toledo Public Schools. They recently did a new renovation, a pretty big renovation to their natural sciences campus. And so we're going to meet there, get a tour of that. That'll be our extended coffee hour from 9 to noon. Thank you so much for being with us today. I hope that you have some kind of golden nugget to take with you.